Okay, right. So frequency and vibration. You have to understand that the church is not a church. That was a hospital. That's number one. Those were not churches. Those were not religious buildings. Those were hospitals that people went to get real healing done. The stained glass windows should not be there. There should not be any glass in those windows. It should be knocked out because the windows themselves are created in sacred geometry, which gives the light that passes through it a different kind of rotation to it, putting it into a more hyper focused focal point of energy. And that's why you have an altar in the church. Like the people that were the most sick would go to the altar. The organs were called organs because it literally was something that was created to adjust your organs. It was something that would cleanse you from the inside out. Bells, right? Okay, first off, parasites. I mean, demons. The things in the Bible called demons. These are parasites. That it's parasites that you get from food and thing like that. That's why they tell you to ring the bell to get rid of the fucking demons and stuff like that. All that hocus pocus shit they made up afterwards. The truth of it is the bells would scramble the energy and kill the parasites. If you look nowadays, they'll have like frequency devices to nuke parasites and shit like that. That's the same concept you have with the bells, the altar, and the organs that we're playing. That's why it would play in the synchronicities that it was creating, because what that is that's a form of frequency healing. If you go inside of the Catholic churches right now, the booths that they changed into confession booths, those are chambers that are made to resonate the energy that goes into them. It's not that it's somewhere that you're not hearing people and shit like that. If you notice, each one of those chambers has a very specific sacred geometry shape on the doors and on the windows of that chamber. Now, because they put up the metal in between the shit and took all the bells out of it, and they sing things in a different octave than what they used to, you don't get those same effects anymore. You still get altered in those buildings, but it's not in the same manner. It's the reversal of it. So that's why people that go into church get addicted to the church, but they always see demons and devils and all these horrific things, because what's happening is they're getting reprogrammed on a subatomic level. It's going in there where all the energy is being focused into the church, and then hearing about negative things at the same time. So you're restructuring DNA to be drawn towards these negative things because they're getting a good feeling while hearing about bad things. So it's training them subconsciously to search for bad things. That's why all the people in the church are possessed. If you say something that a person in the church doesn't like, what's the first thing they tell you? Oh, you're possessed by a demon. The world is ran by the devil and everybody's living in hell and all this crazy nonsense. But that's because that's what they're addicted to. That's what they're possessed by. That's a form of possession. Anything that you give your mind over to is a form of possession. And so they conform to demons and devils more than they conform to anything else. Because the Bible, the way that it was restructured, when they changed it into a religious book, they make it so that you learn of duality. They make it so that every time that you think of something good, you're also thinking of something bad on the other end. You can't think of Jesus without thinking of the devil. You can't think of angels without thinking of demons. You can't think of God without or heaven without thinking of hell. You get what I'm saying? So these are all things that are being programmed subconsciously and on a genetic level that's being buried deep into their coding to make it so that anytime that they have a positive thought, it's subconsciously followed by, oh, there must be a demon coming. There must be a monster coming. There must be this. Like, it's damaging them on an internal level, and they don't even recognize it. As a matter of fact, here, I'm going to show you something since we're on that subject.
And that's interesting to say that those churches were not actual churches. They were actually hospitals that people use sound and resonance as well as light and everything like this to heal people. The altar was actually meant to what? Alter your DNA or alter your situation. The bells of the church.
Altar was where you would go if you had a heavy ailment. That's what, okay, right. For your people in the chat and stuff like that, if any of them have been to the church, right? Or if you've been to the church yourself, right? You ever see where they call their new members up to the altar? And when they go up to the altar, some of the people pass out. Some of them seem to shake and convulse when the preacher touches them and shit like that. You ever seen those type of things?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, now you understand why. Imagine your body having a massive amount of energy pumped into it to where it's literally to the point to where everything is being fucking just zapped, right? And then all of a sudden a physical contact comes on top of that. It's a complete override of your system. I experienced it once when I was a little kid because I went up there. I went up there because I had a friend that was a pastor that would take me to his church and stuff. And I went up there to do, like, I don't remember what it's called when you get welcomed into the church, but I went up there and the preacher touched me on my fucking head and my sound went blank, my vision went blank, my whole fucking shit went blank. And I was like, oh, what the hell was that? It's like, what was this? I always thought that everybody was fucking playing around when they went up there and did that shit, but I experienced that shit myself, so I know exactly what it. But now as an adult, after studying the things that I study, I know exactly what it was. Your system was already being reset from being in the place of the altar, and as it was being reset, somebody coming up and touching you is a complete override of your senses. Like, it's all, your whole system's already going through a fucking biological change on a subatomic level when you're standing on that altar. That's why it's called an altar. To have somebody touch you during that is a fuck to your system, because it's way too much. Like, it's already enough with all the energy, and then a physical touch on top of it, it basically shorts you out.
You know what? And especially if they all are praying with you, praying and stuff like that, combining that, and then they have the music.
It's not
going.
the prayer itself. They're taught that it's the prayer that makes them feel like that. It's not the prayer itself. It's the sound resonance in the building and the multitude of voices that come together. That's what it is it's resonating the sound around the building, keeping it in a circulation, because that's what those buildings are made for. They're made for sound resonance, because that's how you heal. So when you have a whole bunch of people chanting, when you have the choir on the stage singing, when you have the instruments playing and the bells ringing and all that shit, it's the overwhelming amount of sound resonance that's taking place. And so when you touch somebody like that, it's just like a complete override to your system. Like, you can't even escape that shit. That's why I walk past the church when they're doing all these their little ceremonies and their seances and all that bullshit. And you'll see when they're doing their singing and stuff like that. If you go to you walk past the right church, you'll be able to see the whole doors vibrate. You ever seen those videos where the doors are vibrating on the fucking church and shit like that?
No, I haven't seen that.
Oh, you're gonna have to look into that. But basically, it's the amount of energy that's in the building. It's like a subwoofer going off.
Wow, I gotta look that up. Churches with church doors vibrating when a service is going on.
Mm-hmm. They'll be in there singing and playing their instruments and playing their organs and stuff, and the fucking whole building will be vibrating because it's a sound resonance building. I'm trying to get to this point real quick. Where is it?
And then I heard that they purposely broke all the bells and had them all buried at some point. I don't know what that's about, but I heard that.
Because if the bells were going off, you wouldn't have any parasites in your body, and your body would be getting restructured every day on a regular basis.